Is everything set like we should? Well, it is the 19th of August, and we are into the kind of final on our scene of Miguel here. So we'll get him painted, and then I think we can move on to pushing this sequence together. Um, so let's see. Here's Miguel in our model here. He's a little Latino guy down here on the bottom. So I'm going to move my model over here just so I can see it. You won't be seeing it, but I will. And we'll start working on cleaning this up. So what we're going to do is we're going to add a layer. Okay. And that's going to be on the top. All of these drawings are exposed on 2s, so we're going to add a drawing for each of the drawings underneath. So that's what we're doing in the timeline right now. I just keep hitting add after to add a frame in this new layer that is going to be right above the one that I drew with the character. Okay, so this layer will be the one that I will clean up Miguel in, paint him in, and I'll just do it in real time. So now on layer 2 here, I'm going to drop the opacity down to right around 35%, 30%, and then I'll go back into this top layer for my cleanup line. Okay, so it looks like Miguel is all drawn in black. That makes it a little easier for me. Must be getting lazy when I was doing that. All right, so make sure we have our brush set at the top one here, which is a solid line at 6 pixels, and then I will make Miguel, I'll pull him up to 200% so that I can see his face very clearly and the details, and then I can start to put lines on Miguel here. So, all right. There we go. Yes. All right. Make sure when you're making a line on a character, you want to get your hand in a comfortable position as you make the line, especially if you're trying to keep it consistent all the way across the field of your drawing. So being able to put a clean line, clean up prior to your paint, it's just something that you have to kind of get accustomed to doing. So when I was first drawing in school and what have you, and I would ride the bus to school, and I would draw on the bus. And the thing that I think one of the things that helped me to get my drawing lines so tight and controlled was that I drew while I was on the bus. And what I discovered was that really did help me to it helped to make my drawn line clean. Like, part of the reason that I think I'm able to clean up things as cleanly and as consistently as I am is because of that. That was a discipline that I started a long time ago, and of course it's just gotten better over the years, I guess. don't be weary of the time that it takes for you to get good at certain things. Okay? We live in an age today where everybody wants something right now, right now, right now. And some things just require patience. So I say don't be weary of that. Um, that works in your favor. You know, it really does. So you could say, well, gee, well, I want things to be perfect right now. Well, they're not going to be, okay? Almost anybody that's ever been creative would probably tell you that if they could go back and go over the stuff that they did the first time years ago, they probably would do it things a lot differently. And I believe that to be very true. I think a lot of times we get so caught up in trying to do everything perfectly, or we want our stuff to look just like somebody else did, and okay, I understand. You want to do a good job, of course. Who doesn't want to do a good job? But I think you do have to relax, and you have to realize that sometimes you're just going to have to go with the program. You're going to have to realize that you're going to learn over time. It's not Everything isn't going to happen instantly. Now I'm going to go right to paint now. Yeah, everything isn't going to happen instantly. Okay, so just be aware of the fact that these things take time. If you want quality on something, there's nothing wrong with wanting quality, but just understand that there's going to be times when it's just going to take a little bit more effort in whatever it is you're doing to get to a place where the quality is where you want it to be. And so just take it easy, just relax. You will get there. And actually, while you're on the way to getting there, um, it's also not a bad idea to kind of slow down for a minute and look to see what are you learning in the process of getting to where you want to be. What are things that you're picking up that maybe you weren't aware of when you first started? Where's your thinking now as opposed to when you first say started to work on something? It's like everything there is a process of learning. So yeah, I mean, take advantage of that process of learning. Take advantage of the things that you say no now that you didn't know, when you first started doing what you're doing. Let's see here. I think that's this color, isn't it? Yeah, it is. Okay. Alrighty, there we go. Let's go back down to 100. Okay. Ta-da! There's our first image of Miguel. Cute little bugger, isn't he? Alright, so now we'll go on to the next one. I kind of like doing, let's see, what do I want to do here? I wonder why let's see. Oh, I have the onion skin. Okay. Yeah, turn off the onion skin. I don't need that for this. Right. Okay. Okay, let's see. Yeah, that's right. He's all in black. That's right. Okay. So, back to 200%. And we'll use the black line. Right. Oops. Got the wrong color. Black. There we go. There we go. Um, I think I was talking a little bit about what I thought AI could do, and so I'm learning about AI myself, the things that you could do with it. I think there's lots of great opportunities um, with it. I believe. I mean, I don't know. I'd have to try. Some of the thoughts that I have about it. Um, like I said, I really do think it could be a very big help to anybody who is an independent, creative person. I really see the possibilities. I think are quite helpful because to me, I've always seen technology in the way that I believe it was originally intended, and that would be to be an assist to us. You know, every technological advancement that we have created as humans, its initial idea was to assist us, not to necessarily replace us, but to assist us. And I look at it that anything can be used for a negative reason. You know, it's really how you're choosing to use something as to whether or not it ends up being negative. You know, it could be negative, but I don't think it just automatically has to be negative. I think it can be positive. But I think it's just like anything. If you see something as negative, or you fear it, or you're skeptical of it, then for you it is going to be negative. But you could just as easily turn right around and look at that in a different light and think of it in a positive light. And I think that if you do that, you're just you're making things better for yourself. That's all. Some things may be made specifically for the purpose of something bad, because you have that too, obviously. But most of the technical advances that we have are actually really meant to make everyone's lives better, or at least more than likely that's why they were invented. So, so anyway, I'm just I mean, I'm just optimistic. I'm optimistic. You know, I mean, I'm sure that Benjamin Franklin, when he discovered electricity, there probably a lot of people thought it was some sort of awful thing and destructive, and But look at where we are today because of it. You know, because of that discovery. So you know, you have to kind of look at like, well, okay, yeah. I mean, you could look at it from the negative standpoint, but you could also look at it from a positive standpoint. And I think it's sure a lot better to look at it from a positive than to look at it from a negative, I would think. So, look at it from a positive. Everything doesn't have to be negative. Let's see. Do I want to make that part? Well, let's see. Let me get it bigger here. All right. So I gotta get the paintbrush in that little crevice. There we go. Let me bring it back down to 100. Okay. Yeah, okay. All right. Let's see. Hand goes to sleep. Does that happen to you guys? Your hands go to sleep when you're doing something sometimes? Well, mine does. Yeah. All of us older guys, older people. Let's see. Oh, blue. Okay, so it's probably this blue here. Right? Yeah, that's right. Sneaker. Okay. Paint on the blues, the lighter blue, there and there. Right. Okay. All right. Yeah, it goes to sleep. Ah, I don't like that. Ah. Okay, let's see. 200%. There we go. All right. Hmm. Yeah, I can imagine. Uh, I can imagine that AI could really, in the right hands with the right instructions, could take. You could take a small group of people, I think, and do something very big, and probably even do it really well. I just think the mistake is, I guess if I could say anything really strongly about how AI could be used, is I would say don't get lazy, okay? As human beings, we get lazy. We don't want to do anything. So we let the machine do it, you know? And I just think that's a huge mistake. You know, the AI will help you write your script. Oh yeah, okay, yeah. I guess I certainly could see how it would do that, and my understanding is that it has done that, and some people have used it for that reason. But I would ask, just how lazy do you want to be? You know, those are the people who AI will replace, because if you're so lazy that you don't want to take the time to write your own script or put in the work, are you saying that you consider that to be the way to go? I don't know. I just think there's something wrong with that thinking to begin with. Um, yeah, that's what I'm. Yeah. So, but hey, the creativity though, a computer can learn things quicker than a human can learn it. A computer can replicate things quicker than a human. That's part of the reason why we've made what we've made. So that's fine. But by the same token, are we going to then say, well, why do we need to create anything when we can let the computer do this, or the computer can do this, or it can do that? Um, and I mean, okay, But do you want to take all of the fun out of what you do as a human being? I mean, some things, some things. I mean, when we created our first, when telephones were created, why were telephones created? Telephones were created so that people could talk to each other from long distances, right? Right. Well, that's why we created the telephone, so that if I'm in New York and you're in California and I want to talk to you, in the past, what would I have had to do? I would have had to write you a letter, right? And there was a time when we had what the telegraph system, which I'm sure for a lot of folks, they probably thought that was kind of an amazing thing, where you tap out your message and, it goes over the radio wires and blah, blah, and then somebody invented a telephone. Well, but it isn't that one thing should replace the other. Like today, people are not having conversations with one another in real life. In other words, your neighbor across the hall from you or down the street, you don't know that person. But if you look back in time and you look back in how we used to communicate, it was no big deal to, you know, go outside and say hello to your neighbor. And I think one of the big problems that we have in the world today is that people don't actually talk to one another. They text each other and they call them. They barely even call on the phone now. They text each other and they use a special text language. We get lazier and lazier and lazier. And nobody's making the choice to be lazy except us. We're making the choice to be lazy. So, that's why I say creatively, it's like, well, you know, you can choose to go that route, right? So, yeah. Or you can also choose to not do that. You can choose to um, keep, sure, you're going to use the technology. I mean, I think that's pretty obvious. You're going to use the technology. But maybe you should occasionally talk to your neighbor. you know, That might not be a bad idea. Maybe you should occasionally say hello just to a person that that you've known for years. Maybe that's not a bad idea either. Maybe you might want to have a conversation, an actual conversation with a person that you know. Maybe that's a good idea too. And I think it's the same thing with creativity. Maybe you might want to sit down and write a script. Maybe you might want to sit down and write a story. Yeah, pencil, paper, boom. Maybe. Because, it's something that it's a beautiful, it's a beautiful thing. You kind of don't want to lose that. I know I wouldn't want to lose it. The ability to do it or anything. So that's just something to think about. I think we get caught up in the wrong thinking. And our creativity, is enhanced by our life experiences. So, well, anyways, that's the old artist guy talking, sharing his thoughts. Well, anyways, all right. Well, we'll stop here. We're at 25 minutes, I believe, or close to it. All right, folks, have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow. We'll keep working on this until we're all done. I'm cleaning up and painting at the same time, so that's saving me a little work. Don't forget to thank God once again for your talents and gifts. Um, wouldn't have what we have if it weren't for God and His love for each and every one of us. And whether you believe that or not, it's true. All right, folks, you have a beautiful day. I'll see you tomorrow. And don't forget, Jesus is Lord.